Hi, Katya Woods with the Philadelphia Tribune. How are you, ladies?
We are good. How are you?
Excellent. Let's get into it. This season, the women are messy. And I was like, no, I'm such a girl. But this time I'm like, the men, I'm like, maybe it's time to let it go, gentlemen. But let's start with you, Amber.
Okay, cool.
My little thing with you was accountability. Here was accountability. Here was you. The two were missing each other. Because when she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," I said, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "That's not how it works." We covered that like in 6th grade. Because she was not hearing him, and I'm just I was like, "Girl, but do you mean it? Are you sorry because you're just tired of it, or are you sorry because you genuinely know that you messed up and you want to earn his trust?" That's how it read for me, because I was like, I get where he's coming from. She's just tired of being in the dark.
His reaction is absolutely right. He needs more than that. You can't just say you're sorry and that you regret something and then expect someone to just take that at face value. There's so much more that goes into forgiving someone. And so I'm grateful that this season, we don't just jump back into a relationship with each other, because that's not real. Human beings are, even if they did get back together, it would be horrible. Nothing has been resolved. There's going to be that tension there because they still have so many. They got to figure out with each other where they went wrong, what led them to that moment, what led Whitney to making that choice, because somewhere in that relationship they had with each other, there was not honesty in what the other person might have needed. And Whitney's now realizing that about herself. She's the kind of person that needed to blow it all up to finally realize what she had and then put her life back together. Because she on paper was on a trajectory to have the perfect life because she wants to everyone else's approval, but she wasn't listening to herself. So I love that Ola is like, that's not good enough. You need to figure out why you did this, because we'll never be able to move on if you can't give me a reason. Or so that's what she's figuring out this season, and it's really nice to watch.
Absolutely. Bresha, this is my theory. I think you
with my mother, Bresha.
I do. I was like, I think deep down inside, she loves Jason. She feels as though he broke the agreement, and she's stuck on that part, not on the fact that we're imperfect. And that's kind of like, I think as women, we have this movie in our head, what we want our marriage and our life to be. And when the reality and the movie don't meet, we don't know quite how to process. And I feel like that's where she's at, and she doesn't know how to get over that hump. Would you agree or not?
Absolutely. What a way to put that together. Yeah. Yes. And that's hard to see while you're in it. She's having to walk through it and see for herself. When she meets a guy that has checked all of the boxes, she's left with making a decision like, is this everything? Is this enough? And, life be lifing. And when life be lifing, that's when you really have to look at yourself and say, what do I need? And I think Renee has to ask herself that genuinely. And it's like, maybe what I need is what I always had, or maybe it's something new. I'm just in a place of transition and I just want to figure it out on my own, and so she's walking that out, and it's tea, honey. She's messy, but she gets it together.
Corbin, I feel like out of everyone, your character is walking within herself, because I feel like she's always known that she's this person. But like a lot of women that are in that age group, we're like, I have this man that loves me. We have this life. If I choose me, there's a part of her thinking, I may never meet someone again. Am I going to regret it? But the majority of her knows like, hey, if I don't do this, I'm going to be resentful in this thing. You know what I mean? So I think that's the key, the takeaway, to lean into yourself and have a little faith, bet on yourself, and have faith that just because you're not with him doesn't mean that love or whatever else that comes with that is not for you. you're just choosing you and your dreams first. Would you say that's where she's at?
Listen, I am loving.
Oh my I know,
God.
you've really broken this down.
You were right.
And he said, answer your
Good.
question.
I know.
He said it. I mean, yes, 100%. That's everything I've been saying all day. I mean, I think the point I will add on to that is when you're in this age range and you do have something that looks on paper, especially to other people, like it's perfect. And you're like, but wait, no, there are still these cracks. But I'm at the point where it's like, well, how dare you have an issue with this? You're supposed to settle down. You're supposed to have it all figured out now. And what I love about the decisions that Sondi is making is she's like, no, I'm not afraid to choose myself, even if that means blowing everything up. And you know, I'm okay to draw these boundaries, even if that means it's going to blow everything up. And even if I know this looks good on paper, and even if I know this isn't like the worst situation in the world, but it's also not my ideal necessarily. You know, I'm not getting everything I need here. And I think she's really setting a great example for women in their 30s that you don't have to settle, and that it's never too late to choose yourself, and that it can be a beautiful thing for you and for the people that you love, you know, to make that decision. Because ultimately what's going to happen if you settle is you're going to stay, then you're going to be resentful, and then the people around you are unhappy because you're unhappy. So it's better to just make the decision to choose yourself. It is never too late. You don't have to be 25 to choose yourself. You can be 34, 35, 36, whatever it is. You can be 40, 50, whatever it is. It's never too late to choose you.
I want to add on to that too, though, because sometimes you are choosing yourself. You feel in the moment, I have chosen what I am happy with. And I want to say the show does a good job of reminding everyone it's okay to change your mind. You're allowed to choose a new path. It's okay that you were really happy there and now you're not as fulfilled as you once were and you want to pivot. That's okay. You don't have to stick with one choice that you made when you were at whatever age in your life.
On the pivot.
Yeah, and she pivots too. She pivots in her career path this season too. I mean, you think that she's so set in where she is, and she is very good and she's very intelligent, but there are so many different directions you can take, and you see her just sort of dive head first into this different lane that you didn't really see coming, but it works out. So
I agree. I think the beauty about the show is that I mean, I'm a lot older than you guys, but I think the beauty about getting older as you grow into your womanhood is giving yourself permission to change your mind and to understand that your plan is not like, it's a work in progress that you can subtract and add. And I think that's what these women, they're at that intersection. I think your 30s is when you're like, well, this plan that I had, it's got some crooks in it, and we need to give ourselves permission to adjust it. You know what I mean? And say, I'm taking a pivot. But I love this season, and I can't wait for the conversation that the community is going to have. You know what I mean? And I do think people are going to be surprised. The men are going to get a lot of empathy, and I think that's okay too.
I agree. They deserve it.
They deserve it. Men have feelings too.
They do. But it's nice to see the script flipped on its head like that, because usually you're like, oh, that poor lady. It's like, listen, when we live boldly, we take bodies down too sometimes, and it's okay for them to have feelings about it. The shrapnel, pick up the shrapnel. Oh, Lord, that's not what you said.
Well, I love it. And again, thank you so much for taking the time out. Everybody looks beautiful. And again, I cannot wait for the, as you say, Black Twitter to get in the mix, you know, a good time.
We don't have our blue checks, but we'll be there.
We love the conversation.
We have we're there for the community. That's what we there for. You know, we keeping it cute today.
Yeah.
We're here for the community.
That's right. Community.
Thank you.
Community.